Mythology is nothing without the hordes of terrifying cultural creations and monstrosities that make up our shared eternal cautionary tale. Since the days of cave paintings and campfire stories, we've warned each other about the dangers of lurking too long in a darkened forest or stumbling too close to a rocky cliff, and over time, those proponents of fear became personified by wicked and grotesque creatures, all-powerful entities that cling to our consciousness, striking fear whenever we tread too close to their soil. Well, you gobbled up part 1 of this list, so I guess it's time for part 2. Hello horror fans, what's going on? And once again, welcome back to the Scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos. As per usual, I'll be your horror host Jack Finch, as today we curiously take a look at the top 5 scariest creatures from Mythology, part 2. Roll the clip.
We come seeking your Prince Rusalka in friendship. They say you have a monster here. They say your lands are cursed.
For the curious amongst you, that clip was from 2007's Beowulf, starring my man Ray Winston as the legendary king himself, based on the Old English epic saga of Man vs Grendel. For 2 reasons really. First, this list is about mythology, of course, and second, because I've been waiting for an excuse to feature an animated English legend for quite a while. So yeah, there we have it. I suppose we better begin, right? Kicking off at number 5, the Dullahan. And we're flitting through the weathered pages of Irish history and Celtic mythology for this one. The dark rider of the island of Ireland, the Dullahan. Also known as Gancain in Irish, which literally translates to without a head, the Dullahan is a form of fairy in Irish mythology, but one that doesn't exhibit itself as the serene and beautiful fae, but instead a terrifying headless rider, usually depicted upon a black horse, carrying its own head under one of its arms, which was said to have the colour and consistency of mouldy cheese. Whilst the Dullahan is primarily portrayed as male, there are certain legends that depict it as a female, sharing the same distorted mouth and hideous grin that touches both sides of its head. Now, it's important to mention that many European mythologies and folklore share a similar figure, and the ghostly rider crops up in the majority of Central and Eastern European folklore, as well as collectively in the wild hunt mythologies of Slavic, Scandinavian and Celtic culture. Still though, none of them are as terrifying as the Dullahan. It is said that its eyes were constantly shifting in its socket, scanning across the countryside even during the darkest of nights. Usually it rode a wagon adorned with funeral objects and candled skulls to light the way. It whipped its horse with the spine of a human corpse, and as Celtic legend believed, when the Dullahan stopped riding, it meant only one thing: death. The Dullahan would cry out into the night sky, drawing away the soul of its victim, adding it to its cart before riding off back into the darkness. Next up at number 4, the Qura. Now, I'm sure that many of you Top 5 Scary fans are aware the yokai of Japanese folklore make up some of the most terrifying creations in mythology, many of which are so oddly specific that it begs the question as to how they were even created. Nevertheless though, let us take a look at one of its most terrifying entries, the Qura, otherwise known as Odokuro, literally meaning giant skeleton. And well, imagination aside, that's exactly what it is. As the legend goes, the Odokuro are spirits that take the form of giant skeletons that roam the countryside, standing at over 15 times taller than the average person, lurking in the dark places of the world. Their teeth chatter and their bones rattle, making up the gachi gachi sound that has become this yokai's namesake. When the bodies of soldiers rot in the field, unable to pass on from the spirit realm, the Qura is the result. It is also said that the Odokuro are created from the piles of amassed bones of people that had died under great atrocities, innocent victims of battle, or those that had starved to death under mass poverty. Without the proper burial of their bodies, their ancient bones would seek vengeance, and thus we have the Odokuro. This yokai in particular only roams after midnight, usually tending to grab lone travelers who are foolish enough to be out at night, biting off their heads and basking in their spraying blood. If that wasn't enough to make you never roam the forests of Japan after midnight, it is also said that the Odokuro possesses the power of invisibility and are also indestructible. So yeah, this is one mythological creation that we'd all rather avoid, right? Coming in next at number 3, the Rusalka. We're heading over to Slavic folklore for this particular entry, and it's important to note that water has often been a reoccurring theme in mythology. Water is the giver of life, but it is also a symbol of mortal danger, and often the result and the heavy price of curiosity. Enter then the Rusalka, a horrifying female entity considered to be an offshoot of the mermaids and harpies of Greek mythology. The Rusalka is malicious, and it harbours an unquenchable hatred towards humankind. Despite that though, the Rusalka has a much more heart-wrenching tale than what appears on the surface. It was often said that the Rusalka was the unhinged spirit of young women, jilted lovers, those that had been forced into unhappy marriages, or those that had been violently drowned against their own will. Whatever the form of their origin, the Rusalka played an important part in tormenting the lives of peasants and princes alike. Her main role in Slavic lore was to lure her victims through her song, a beautifully haunting tune that would cause her victims to wade into the depths of her waterways, where her hair would quickly entangle their feet, wrapping around them like the vines of a willow and drowning them in pursuit of revenge for their mortal deaths. In Slavic culture, the legend of the Rusalka is highly respected, and her terrifying image serves as an ever-present reminder of the dangers that can lurk within the wild. Swinging in at number 2, the Juragoomer. And for this one, you may be pleased to know that we're heading back to the mystical realm of Japan, because let's face it, there are just far too many horrifying yokai to pass up, and this one, I think, may be the most terrifying of them all. Allegorically speaking, the Juragoomer are relatively similar to our previous entry, the Rusalka, but yeah, the Juragoomer has a different taste, shall we say. In Japanese, Juragoomer roughly translates to entangling bride, and that may offer a bit of insight into how this particular mythological creature preys upon its victims. In the folklore of the yokai, some species of spider are known to possess terrifying supernatural powers, and the Juragoomer, which appear as the golden orb weaver, are no exception. They begin their lives as tiny creatures, but over hundreds of years they slowly feast on small birds and other woodland creatures, until they become large enough to feast on young men. When the golden orb weaver reaches 400 years of age, it begins its eternal feast on humans, making its nest in caves, deep forests, or empty houses in abandoned villages. They live solitary lives, but are experts of shape-shifting and deceit, often appearing as beautiful, serene women to wary travelers. The Juragoomer can spin webs to ensnare its victims, weakening them with their potent venom, allowing the spider to savor the long and painful death of her victims. In Japanese folklore, a successful Juragoomer can operate like this for years and years without being detected, and in some cases can even make their nest in the middle of a busy city, feasting on her victims as their desiccated skeletons build up in their home. Yeah, this one's pretty grim.
Or is it really quiet in here? It's been gutted. Could be hunters out here. Bait, possibly. Or it's the bit they don't show you in the nature documentary. It's a warning.
And finally, coming in at our number 1 spot, the Yotan. And of course, we're heading deep into the sagas and Eddas of Ragnarok for this one, with perhaps the most mysterious and all-powerful and violent creations in the whole of Norse mythology, the Yotan, the terrifying race of beings that became what we now know as giants and trolls in more contemporary Scandinavian and European folklore. Nevertheless, the Yotan are numerous and many, and each of them have an equally chaotic role in the end of all mankind. In Norse mythology, the Yotan are in fact a series of primordial nature spirits, exhibiting colossal strength and potent power, standing in eternal opposition to the races of the Aesir and the Vanir. The Yotan were formed from the primordial giant Ymir, and they held dominion over their home, Jotunheim, as well as Niflheim, the world of mist and ice, and Muspelheim, the world of heat and fire. There they wait, ready and waiting to bring forth Ragnarok, the end of all days, when the Yotan of ice and fire slaughter their way across the planet. In more contemporary folklore though, the Yotan were gradually twisted and fragmented into horrifying abominations of nature, cautionary tales of the elements and the natural world being tortured and tempered into a vile representation of itself. As Norse mythology meandered its way across the ages, the Yotan slowly became perversions of the power of the gods, frightening figures that were worshipped in dark forests by cults and madmen waiting for Ragnarok and the end of days to come. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure which one's worse. Well, there we have it, horror fans, our list for the top 5 scariest creatures from mythology, part 2. What do you guys think? Do you agree with this list in particular, have more to add, or even got a list of your own? Why don't you let us know your thoughts, as well as any choice picks down in the comment section below. Before we depart from today's video though, let's first take a quick look at some of your more creative comments from over the past few days. First up, Ecto Labs Industries says, the Florida Department of Occult History and Supernatural Studies needs you, Jack, to be our local horrorologist and eldritch lecturer. Stay awesome. Florida? Oh, my word, that's an awfully long way. I suppose I could pop on by, but let me tell you, I don't do great in the heat. Well, I guess I better be off Florida. What? Well, in that case, I guess I better be off to Florida. So on that note, horror fans, unfortunately that's all we've got time for in today's video. Just stick around all the way until the end. If you were a fan of this video, or just top 5 scary videos in particular, then please be a dear and hit that thumbs up button as well as that subscribe bell, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. As per usual, I've been your horror host, Jack Finch. You've been watching top 5 scary videos. Until next time, you take it easy.